Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how to create your final presentation for your character rig. And we're going to do new project. So open Adobe Premiere. That'll be the first screen that pops up. And then you'll see location. Slide this over for a moment. So you're going to locate a file, a folder in which you want to locate all your files to that are going to save out from here. Okay, so for mine, I'm putting mine in my MCC folder, 3D Modeling 2, select folder. Alright. After that, everything else should be fine. You can name your project. Final Presentation 3D2, something like that. I don't want to end mine 3D rig with a number because when I save out files, sometimes I use a numeric system to know which is my most recent one. Anyway, so I'm going to save mine as Final Presentation 3D rig and press OK. Just give it a moment. And another moment. It should be up in just a few moments here. I primarily don't do editing on this particular computer that I'm using right now, but for all of my videos I do record, so it's going to be a little bit slower probably than whatever system you're using. The first time you open it up, it's always going to take a while for it to kind of get everything in place, but by default this is what it should sort of look like. Okay. So down here is our most important one that we need to do, import media to start. So File, Import, and that's from 3D1, Videos. Now actually, before I do that, I just deleted it. Before I do that, I want to make sure I need to rename my. Alright. So this is going to be the walk cycle. Okay. I recommend you do the same. Make sure you have them named. Controller, just press S. And then this is my Play Blast. We're only focused on. Yep. And then okay. This file is already in use. Alright. So I'm not going to worry about that one for now. Now I'm going to do File, Import, and locate okay. So I located my files and I'm going to press open. I just selected them all and it's going to import the files. And now from here I'm going to just click and drag over here into my timeline. and I'm going to release. Alright. So now I can go ahead and hit play. Tapping spacebar will hit play. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to unlink. So I'm going to right click on here and do unlink to take off the audio, so I'm not working with any audio while I'm talking to you. It could get confusing. And alright, so using this slider down here at the very bottom, you see it says conforming lab 29, so it's still sort of processing these videos, but I'm going to use this to zoom in and zoom out on my timeline. So the first thing I'm doing, these are just really basic tips. I'm going to use this first moment here to just kind of make a little title, and that's really all we're doing, is we're going to be creating titles using text. You could create these titles in Photoshop if you wanted to, or in Illustrator, or you could create them right here. Title default still, so new title default still. And this should be fine. And then I'm going to call this intro and click OK. Okay. So now here, in my intro, my title tools are located over here. It's a little bit different than older versions that I've used before, but in my title, right in here, just say title intro, I can begin to type. So I'm just going to call this Henrik Host-Madsen, my name. Using my arrow tool, I can slide this over. And these little squares around your little preview in here, those are your sort of title safe bars, and you can scale it. And then I'm going back here, and then I'll do 3D modeling and animation 2, final project character rig, or something like that. At that point, you can also highlight everything and mess around with some of the title styles if you wanted to change anything. Let's see, title tools. This is primarily creating text. This will allow you to change different types of default. I kind of like this one. I'll go with that. And then properties. I'm trying to remember how to center. I'm going to see if I can right click in here. Yep. Type alignment and do center. Everything will be centered. Go back to my title tools. Use my arrow tool. And there we go. Now, when I go down here and I play this, you're not going to see it because I have it right here. Now, another thing I can do, I'm going to double click in my bottom left corner, and that's going to open up my little title tools in here. I can also should be able to position horizontal center and position vertical center. So now it's perfectly centered right in the center of my scene. I'm going to do that one more time after I resized it. Okay, and now when I play it, it's going to cut right at that moment. you'll see this color here is red and this is yellow by pressing Enter on your keyboard on the numpad. Should do it. There we go. Just enter on the keyboard anywhere. It's gonna render the video preview, so it should technically help it play a little bit more quickly. And you'll see that it turns green. That means that part is rendered. Where this one is yellow, and it's kind of like preview rendered, if you will. Anyway, so, oh, and in here, there we go. And then since I made an adjustment to it, I would have to go ahead and re-render it. And that's just for the preview. It's not actually fully rendered yet, so that's just for the preview. So now, whoa. So now, when I play it, I press enter. It's going to cut at about 5 seconds. And then it goes into my character. So, oh. I'm going to click over here. Keeps running through both of skipping through it, which is kind of annoying, but it shouldn't be doing that. And actually going to lock this, not this one, lock this one. That's lock layer. And it looks like a lot of this I actually don't need in here yet. So it doesn't look like I actually get to my first control. If you tap spacebar, okay, so it's about here. What I'm going to do here, because I don't need all of this extra info, is it's just the start of me talking in the YouTube video. Delete that part. So let me undo that real quick. So I found a spot where I want to make a cut. So this little razor blade right here is the razor tool. Press C on your keyboard, and wherever you have this blue line, your timeline here, if you click near it, it's just going to automatically cut at that point. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my selection tool. I'm going to select this part of my video and press delete. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this blank space, and then I'm going to right click and do a ripple delete, and that's going to snap it all the way back. Now I'll go ahead and press enter one more time. And this is just for this machine because my machine's pretty slow that I'm doing this on, while I'm also screen capturing. So I'm not really making it too easy for the software. And I actually don't think I wanted to use this one. I wanted to use this one. So I'm going to unlink these as I did earlier and delete the audio part. And then I'm just going to play it one more time, make sure it's the right file. I thought it was, but it wasn't, because I imported all of the video files that I had. Okay. So I have my intro here. And it's playing very slowly. So this will make it a little bit harder for me to show you. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another title, new title, default still. I'm going to call this Global CTRL for Global Control and press OK. Okay, in my global control, in this little box, when I double click on it, it's going to appear here, and this is like your little presentation one. If you want, I believe you can just snap it in here, and then you'll have it also with everything you need right here. So you can also play around with the user interface. So this should be my title all I did was click and drag. This should be my title, and this should be my presentation, my final presentation, what it'll look like. So now from my title presentation here, grab my type tool and type global control, and then I'm going to go ahead and type styles, and I think it was this one I liked, global control, and I could go ahead and put it down here. And now when I click and drag this, it's going to say global control. Alright, then I'm going to go through this. You can continue putting title sequences on the same track. Where is it? Unlock that. So make sure your video is unlocked, and then you can just kind of run a click and drag, and then use this one primarily for your video 2 layer for your titles, and then your video 1 layer for your primary video that you've made. And then the other thing is make sure that your title sequences are the layer above the bottom, your main presentation video. Okay. Then I'm gonna go over here and go with a new one, and I'm gonna basically stop after this one because I'm just gonna be repeating myself the entire time. I'm gonna press this will be left foot CTRL, and you can put left knee control also. I'm gonna double click on it. It should be in here automatically. Left foot control. Highlight the old thing, type styles here, and then click and drag this down into place. Alright, and if you want to make it smaller, you can. I'm just kind of winging this as I go along. And there's my left foot control, and press enter. Hopefully it'll run a little bit more quickly. And I could actually pluralize that so it's left foot controls. And one last thing, if we're going to do some final touch-ups on it, on my left foot control here, when it gets to that point, somewhere in here. Go ahead and drag that in there. So you can create your entire video this way. Mine's 5 minutes long. If yours more than that, that's pretty long video. One other thing you can do, unlock this, is before you start placing all of these titles in, if you right click here and you do speed duration, mine's 6 minutes and 11 seconds, and I believe that's 25 frames. If I change it to be 200%, it's going to be 3 minutes. If I change it to, I'm not really sure on the math on this, 400%, it'll be 1.5 minutes. 500 will be 1 minute and 15. 600 will be 1 minute. So you can do it that way also. You can speed up your video, and then you probably press OK. Then you'll have to go in and readjust your titles. But that's a way to make your video shorter. Typically, you don't want this to be any longer than 2 minutes. Nothing longer than 2 minutes. So when you're finally ready to export, and I'm actually going to make this even shorter for the video itself, just so you guys can see. Let's make it even shorter. Let's say 5,000. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to delete these for now. And this is just so I can show you how to export, because I don't want it to take an hour for this to export in this video. I just want to show you how to do it. So File, Export. So I have like a 7-second video here that's going to export. File, Export Media. Give or take, I'm not even sure. 5 to 10 seconds long. And then output name. Bring this over for 1 second. That'll be fine. Okay, so I just located where I was going to save it to, and just call it final example. And if you do your titles in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, make sure you save them out with a transparent background as a PNG primarily. That's what I would use. Or you can use, I believe it'll actually accept, Adobe Premiere will accept the Photoshop and Illustrator files. I would have to double check that. They change these softwares and update them from year to year. So I would have to make sure that that is correct what I just said, but it will absolutely 100% accept like a PNG file, for example. So anyway, and PNG files will save without the background, so that typically it's a gray and white checkerboard is the transparency background in those types of software. You would just save it out as a PNG with that. Anyway, back to this. And then you would import them and just drag and drop them as we were doing, except I was using the title tool and creating the titles one by one. So final example, Play Blast Rig Presentation. I'm saving into my folder. Click Save. Export video. If you want to include a lot of these projects, I'm going to include examples in the shell, but a lot of these do have music, so if you wanted to include some type of music, I would stay away from, unless you have a really fast computer, use maximum render quality. I don't think you'll notice too much of a difference anyway. The format I would set to H.264. I would match source to the preset, and I would say that's about it. And then I would go export. So hopefully this doesn't take long, because it's only like a 5-second video. But if you have like a 5-minute video, this could take a while to render, especially depending on your machine. So for like a 5-10 second video on my particular machine that I'm using right now, while I'm screen capturing and have Maya open and QuickTime and a web browser and Adobe Premiere and all of the background applications that are running in the background, it's taking a little bit longer. But that's how you export, and that's all you need to do to submit this file. Once it's done, just make sure that the video file exported properly. Make sure you play it, and then you're all set there. Be sure to include your controls in each part of the video. So your left foot control, right foot controls, your knee controls, if you want to include that could be combined with the left and right foot controls. Then you have your root control, and then I would just go ahead and skip ahead and call it spine controls, because you'll probably have 2 or 3 or 4 controls just for the spine. Then I would do, you could do, if you want to shorten it, left arm controls, and then I would do left finger controls, and then the clavicle, and jaw control, eye controls, so on and so forth. So I think you should get the point, especially once you look at some of these samples I'm going to include. But that's basically it. I'm trying to think, if you want to get a little bit fancy and include some type of effects such as like fade ins and fade outs, more than welcome to. They're in the effects tab, which I can't really get to right now, but they're in the effects tab over here, and it'll be like video fade in, video fade out, or video effects and things like that, and then you just click and drag it directly on your timeline onto that particular video layer. And then if it's like a fade out, you drag it to the end of the sequence on that little timeline of that particular, like a title sequence. By default, when you drag and drop them, I believe they're 5 seconds in length. But yeah, I'm not going to go too much into Premiere because not really the most important part of this entire course, but it definitely helps to sort of pretty up your project if you wanted to go ahead and do that. Other than that, I'm just waiting for this to finish rendering, and then I'll just show you. It's going to be like a super fast video because I wanted to make sure that this render didn't take too long. And almost done here. So okay. Now I'll show you. It might, yep. So it goes through that entire video of my guy moving around, and I only have the one title sequence, but you get the idea. Be sure to check the other samples I provide, and yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, be sure to inbox me, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one, and thanks for watching.